call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. Thank you all. Could I please get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second.
Mr. Merrick?
No.
There's other discussion. Mr. Merrick?
Could I have the council consider adding an item to the consent agenda, 7.8? Unfortunately, the city received a notification from Kathleen Von Walter today that she'd like to resign her position on the Heritage Preservation Commission after many years of service. So I'd like the city council to consider that resignation as 7.8.
Can I just amend I will amend my motion to approve the consent agenda with the addition of 7.8, Kathleen Von Walter's resignation from the Heritage Preservation Commission.
So there,
I will still second that amended.
there's an amendment to the original motion and an amended second to the original motion, including 7.8, the resignation of Kathy Von Walter. Anything else? There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Brent. We are at number 4, resident comments and questions. Any residents have anything they'd like to add about a vacation to Duluth or anything? Okay. Thank you so
I'd like
much.
to hear about it.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to come up to the microphone. Yeah, we'd ask, and I told you I was going to do this. We'd ask that you introduce yourself and tell us where you live. Nice.
I'm Leon Cox, and I live in Carver. I went to Duluth. I'm in my own do not disturb room.
He made a do not disturb room in his hotel room.
Really?
Yeah.
And I watched movies and hung out and went to a great restaurant.
You remember the name of the restaurant?
I don't think I saw the name of the restaurant.
But it was a really good burger.
What did you have to eat?
Well, on the first night, it was really like breakfasty dinner.
Sure.
Pancakes.
Upside down.
That's very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you.
It's good to see you again.
Yes, it is. It's always good to see you.
It's a pleasure to get an update on your life.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right.
You're welcome. All right. Recognizing, please introduce yourself.
Leah Oy, 691 4th Street West. I just wanted to make a comment regarding the amendment to the Memorandum of Understanding. I know it's on the consent agenda, so likely not to be any discussion, but the packet, in what I read in the packet, it seems like the minimum number of recreation services that Chaska would provide within Carver is going away, and I would recommend still having some sort of minimum there. I realize we're shortened a little bit without Village Hall for meeting space, but I guess I would like to still see some kind of minimum requirement for them, and absent of that, I guess potentially requesting a lower fee for that.
I just wanna make a lower fee paid to the...
Paid to City of Chaska.
We're already paying a
We're
lower
already paying
fee.
a lower fee.
Right, it's lowering, but there's no minimum number of recreation programs in the amendment.
If we leave it like that, you'd like the fee to be even lower than what it's been lowered to?
Well, and I guess until we have a little more confidence that they will provide the services.
Okay. Thank you for your input.
Yep. Any other resident comments or questions? I'm going to guess that your name is Lee. Just taking a crazy guess here that you're an Ag Star local representative. Why don't you come on up? We have a Ag Star Emergency Response Equipment Grant. Lee, is it Broderius? Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
He got that right?
Outstanding. I think we're going to shake some hands now. I don't. I'm a northern Minnesota boy. That's a northern Minnesota name.
Lee grew up in Hector, Minnesota.
So you know Dan?
Heck. Oh, this is like. Are you saying Dan isn't very tall?
Oh.
You're older than Dan? Oh, yeah. He looks older than you. You grew up in Hector? Hector, where the sweetest nectar, yeah.
Okay.
Say, Dan, before we take the picture, just for the audience, can you explain what the grant is that you applied for and how Egg Star was involved?
Yep. Okay. So AgStar's a financial service that kind of serves a good part of the state, and I know one of my employers uses AgStar, but they started this grant program, and we applied for the grant for $2,600, and what we requested was a electric fan for ventilation that could be used in many different areas with the fires and ventilation for search and rescue and different things. So we're pleased to have Lee out here to present the check to us for the $2,600.
Hey, nice seeing you again.
Chief, nice work. Again, nice to meet you, and thank you so much. All right, let's move on to 5.2 Reconstruction Project. Mr. Boyum, a feasibility report update.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Work has been progressing on the feasibility report for the 2017 reconstruction project. Once again, the streets in that project are shown in the diagram on the PowerPoint slide. It involves street reconstruction on project streets, including paving alleys. There will also be streetscape improvements along Broadway in that area B between 6th and 4th, as well as closure of the 3rd Street Bridge to vehicle traffic. This next picture is a shot of 3rd Street looking west from Broadway. The schedule for this project is to review the draft report with staff here in November, come back in December to review the report with the council, and then December or January to review the report with the public at the public hearing. With that, I can answer any questions from the council at this time.
So just so that I understand, this is essentially the same report that we've had moving forward, and it's just kind of putting forth a time frame?
Correct.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Got a question. Dan, refresh my memory. What was ever decided on what we're going to do with the closure of the bridge? And were we doing bump outs in there and planters or something?
Yeah, I think when the council discussed it this summer, it was, putting some type of bollard on the 3rd Street Bridge, some plantings with a kind of center walkway, and we will be bringing back some more kind of a visual of that at your December meeting to kind of show the council what we're looking for.
Thank you.
Also, did we decide that we are going to put bituminous in the alleys?
I think it's not like a final decision. We are looking at it in the feasibility report, so the council will have those
Okay.
costs and then make a decision on
Okay.
that.
Can we do that as an add-on or an option?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? You don't need any action on that, so we'll move on to public hearings, which we have none. Could I get a motion on the consent agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the addition of 7.8.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's move to number 8, unfinished business. 8.1, Ms. Nash. RFPs. Sorry. Reading.
We're going a little too far forward here. There we go. The purpose of this item on your agenda tonight is provide you with an update on the RFP process for the 926th Street West property that the city acquired in December of last year. As you'll recall, we had an RFP that we had released with proposals being due by October 14th of this past month, and the city did not receive any proposals in response to that RFP. The request before you tonight is to consider re-releasing the RFP with proposals due by January 31st, 2017. The city administrator and myself had received some feedback from potential developers of the property that were interested but were not able to submit a proposal in time. So the idea behind this is to give some time for those couple of developers to submit a proposal and then evaluate them against each other.
Sounds good. I think it's a great project, and I think it's a great site for a project. It's going to be great. Give it another shot. It's not unheard of. Do you need direction on this, a motion, or just a recommendation?
Make a motion to authorize staff to repost the RFP with proposals to be submitted by January 31st.
I'll second.
There's my answer. There's a motion and a second. Any other comments, questions, or concerns?
I do. Did we talk to the CDA at all about that property then? Are they? I mean, but they'd be aware of it, right? They'd be aware of.
We will make sure they're aware
Okay.
of it. And they did provide that grant for the redevelopment planning for it, so we'll move forward with the redevelopment plan for the site that falls under that grant application.
Okay.
Is there any way to get maybe a quick summary offline of what the feedback was from the maybe partially interested parties that didn't put together a proposal?
Sure, we can
'Kay.
talk about that some other time.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, Vicky Sanz-Iden, 2017 fee schedule.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Each fall, the city reviews the various fees charged, and staff then recommends the changes necessary for the following year. These recommendations are then presented to the City Council for your consideration and approval. If accepted, an ordinance is adopted setting those fees, which would then take effect January 1 of the following year. The fee schedule in your packet this evening reflects the proposed changes from 2016 to 2017 as highlighted. Also, as part of this review, staff looks at aligning the fees with the cost of providing the service. I also want to note that the Planning Commission recommended approval of this fee schedule at their meeting on October 20th of 2016, and a copy of the ordinance is also included in the packet for your consideration. I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have, and may also ask for the help of staff members if you have questions on fees that are in their respective departments.
I have a question.
Have at her.
I noticed that we have completely eliminated the $350 fee for a softball tournament. Is that because we just don't collect that anymore, or did it get moved someplace to, use the fields up at community?
The reason for eliminating that fee is we don't charge for the use of our fields throughout the year, and it just seemed like an arbitrary fee to charge just because someone was having a tournament that we would charge them for the use of the field when we don't for any other individual game. So didn't feel like it was consistent with the rest of our practices, so we eliminated the charge.
Okay. So, I mean, but we don't charge it for like our CCYBSA. But I mean, if some group came to town and said, "Hey, look, there's 4 softball fields. We could have a tournament here," we'd just say, "Go ahead."
Well, they have to reserve the fields, but yes, if the fields were open, they could reserve those 4 fields for the day.
Okay.
Obviously, right now the CCYBSA has priority scheduling of the field, so that would be somewhat dictated by their own use.
Okay. I mean, it probably doesn't happen much anyway that somebody just drives up and says, "Wow, look at those great softball fields.
Let's have a party.
Let's have a tournament."
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
At least there's a basis, a foundation to it, so that makes sense. All right. Any other questions on the 2017 fee schedule? I would say thank you for all the hard work on it. It's not easy, so we do appreciate it. I'd entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 10-2016.
Second.
I said
I'll move.
yeah, okay.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. There's a motion for ordinance number 10-2016 for the excuse me, 2017 fee schedule.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for that. That's a lot of work. Mr. Boyum, traffic analysis comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The 2040 comprehensive plan will need to be updated and submitted in 2018. To your right on the PowerPoint shows a view of the transportation plan that shows various collectors and local roads in the city of Carver future growth area. A component of the comprehensive plan is the transportation plan, and we were contacted by the city of Carver as well as other cities in the county were contacted by the county related to partnering on the travel demand model. And so this is a model that looks at traffic throughout the entire county, and the county offered it up to cities saying they can also incorporate local city streets into that analysis. When we were meeting with the county on the County Road 11 corridor study, it kind of was brought up, and, as well as some follow-up by county staff. So in general, it provides that daily forecast which can be used for the city in their comprehensive transportation plan. The benefits of doing the partnering with the county is to have a consistent traffic forecast between the county and city plans. If you recall in the past, there was some analysis that showed, what is County Road 11 going to be in the future? Is it going to be a 4-lane, a 6-lane, et cetera? By doing this comprehensive partnering on the the travel demand model, will kind of iron out some of those differences between the cities and counties' plans. Let's go back. This next picture shows the orderly annexation area for the city of Carver that was kind of approved in 2009, and it shows some of the areas on the north that weren't part of the last comprehensive plan. So that's another benefit of looking at those areas with this county travel demand model. The cost for that model is $7,000 using the Met Council forecast and information. The city staff did talk with the county's consultants who are doing the work and mentioned that there are, this area north of the original comp plan area that hasn't had a land use assigned to it by the city. That's something the city's looking at doing in their next comp plan update. There's also some discussions if some of the land uses in the original plan will change. And so the county said, yeah, that's something that we can incorporate into the plan, and the cost to do that at a later date. They'll kind of see what the city finalizes and how it compares to the Met Council forecasted areas. And then if we do need to run a new model, we could do that for an additional $3,000. This work would be done through Carver County, so there would be a joint powers agreement that would come back to the council for approval, at a later meeting. The costs would be paid for out of your planning assistant grant or your general fund, and staff is looking at feedback from the council on proceeding with this, partnering with Carver County. And I can answer any questions at this time.
Yeah, I have a question. What is this? What I mean by that is we had talked about a transportation plan. Brent, we had met with the county, with a number of people within the county to put together a transportation plan on County Road.
You're right,
down
a
the Carver
corridor.
Parkway. The
Correct.
corridor.
Yeah, so that's a specific area.
Right, that's a specific study. But how does this fit in with this? Does this name roadways in terms of like minor and major arterial? Is it focus on which are going to grow, which aren't going to grow? Lane coordination? Help me.
Right, it gives, so what, in general, we have like certain roads that were identified in this drawing up there in the past. And so it'll look at those roads and put traffic numbers on those roads as well as roads in that newer growth area. So up on this next drawing, there we go.
Yeah.
So it's gonna assign traffic forecast for those roads. We'll use that information to say, okay, that's a future 4-lane road, a future 2-lane road, and assign costs associated with constructing that for the future.
And isn't this for a comprehensive plan?
Correct.
Got it.
Whereas the County Road 11 study is more narrow in scope.
Right, and I understood that, but I was just trying to get a grasp as to,
okay.
hey, this is going to cost $10,000. And whether it's our money or the Met Council money, it doesn't matter to me. It's still taxpayer money. And I just wanted to make sure we're delineating roadways, what they do, traffic forecast for the county, for the comprehensive plan.
Right.
Accurate.
Well, they're going to go and use the model to go down to our local streets. Typically, they wouldn't be showing local streets in their model. So I think right now the cities that are looking at participating is Carver, if the council's okay with that, Victoria, Waconia, Chaska, Chanhassen.
Got it.
I mean, if we chose not to work with the county, it would probably cost us more
Later on.
to do this for the comprehensive plan, wouldn't it?
Go ahead, Brent.
Well, and this will also help with your corridor study.
Right.
So, because
Yes.
part of looking at 11, we'll look at what the other north-south streets and east-west streets, frankly, are going to do. And so this will help look at the entire system instead of just looking at 11 in a vacuum. And so this data will help not only with the comprehensive plan, but with the corridor study that will be brought to the council in probably early January or late December, as far as moving forward with that request for proposal process with the county. More than likely January.
Perfect.
So
Makes
it's kind of a
total sense.
no-brainer. We should do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one step that is eliminated in our comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, no action needed. There's your feedback. We're all for it, Dan.
Thank you.
Mr. Blam. Just kind of want to delay now, see if you sitting down was a little premature. But Mr. Skoke on the Oak Street lift station repairs.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Welcome.
Tonight, Public Service is requesting the move ahead on upgrading the Oak Street lift station. The Oak Street lift station upgrades would consist of 2 new pumps in the wet well, along with the new guide rail system that we'd put in there, and that's used for maintaining the pumps, pulling them out. Little history on Oak Street lift station. This was upgraded and installed with a new wet well, new pumps, control panel in 2009-2010.
Brian, I apologize for interrupting you, but could you just, for purposes, explain where the Oak Street lift station is and what it does?
Okay, Oak Street lift station is located at the
On
corner.
Oak Street.
I was going to start with 3rd Street, 3rd and Oak Street. So
Just over here,
yep.
down by the river,
Oh,
essentially.
actually, yeah, right over here. So it's
Okay.
right on the corner there. It is. Yeah, it's
Okay.
Third and Oak.
Right over here by Mary Elizabeth.
3rd and Oak. Yep. So
Okay.
and the lift station, it takes wastewater from all the homes. It concentrates into a lower area, and from that point, it pumps it up. And then it gravities to our main lift station, the Carver Creek lift station, which then pumps it to Shakopee. So this is one component within our collection system that does collect the wastewater. And again, we did have a failure on one of the pumps here about a year ago. Staff did a great job in finding a backup pump to put in there so that we could budget for it. It was gone through and looked at it. But the other pump that is in there was starting to wear as well, so we wanted to upgrade that lift station with 2 pumps that are the same, and then upgrade the guide rail system in there for easier maintenance for staff. Again, as I was saying, the Oak Street lift station was originally put in there, upgraded in 2009. That did include a wet well, 2 new pumps, and a control panel, and shortly after that, the generator was installed there. Since then, we've done maintenance on it, and last year we did have a failure of it, and we had a problem with one of the pumps. It kind of tore itself apart, is what happened, and we did find out that those pumps do typically have, or have started seeing some of those same problems at that 6-7 year time period. Unfortunately, these pumps are 5-year prorated warranty, so there was no way to get any warranty dollars on those. So at that point in time, we decided to budget for 2 new pumps, and I am here tonight requesting the approval of that.
Bless you.
We did get 2 quotes, one from Minnesota Pump Works for $22,665, and then Central Pump and Motor for $25,300. Public Service is recommending that we move forward with Minnesota Pump Works. They will do the installation of the new guide rail system and the pumps.
This does seem to be kind of a short lifespan for those pumps. Would you expect something longer?
Yes, most definitely. Staff and myself we expect them to run a lot longer than that. As I indicated, they did see that they are starting to have problems with those pumps, and it's not all of their pumps that they have. This manufacturer on this frame size pump, they started seeing some of these issues, and what it was is there's some bolts and stuff internally that are starting to wear out and shear. We were just lucky it didn't wreck more stuff. I mean, we did have some floats and some transducers we did have to replace because it actually separated in the wet well. And it was not one of the warmer days when it happened, of course, so staff did a great job getting us back up and running. And it's one of the reasons why we have 2 in every lift station, is so that we do have the redundant backup. So nobody's seen any issues with it. Everything worked as it was supposed to.
Are we going to use the same kind of pumps from
No.
the same manufacturer?
Nope, we did
Okay.
look at some different manufacturers and
All
got
right.
quotes from different ones, yes.
So, cost of doing business, and it's budgeted for.
Yes, we did budget for it in the 2016 budget.
Perfect. Could I entertain a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase and installation of 2 new lift station pumps, base elbows and guide rail system to Oak Street Lift Station from Minnesota Pump Works, not to exceed $22,665.
There's a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Any other questions, concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
it budgeted
Thanks, Brian.
for. Mr. Merrick, Resident Advocate Program, 9.4.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In your packet is a copy of the city's focus group report. And the focus groups met earlier in 2016 and looked at not only looking at the comprehensive plan and setting a set of guiding principles for that, but also kind of in general communication, not only about the comprehensive plan, but just about the interactions between residents and the city. And so we've taken some time to develop what we're calling a resident advocate program. And the title is significant in that we're hoping that the communication puts the residents in a position where they can advocate on behalf of the community that they live in. And so it's set up with the city administrator and a rotating council member. And the thought behind that is not a rotating council member as traditionally as in a liaison, but we have 4 meetings, and that at each meeting a different council member would attend. And then we've developed a map, which is also in your packet and shown to the right on your screen, that we'd get a resident from each one of those designated resident advocate group areas. And I got a good question from Councilmember Monroe this afternoon about how they would be selected from those areas. And what our thought process would be is to take in emails of interest or calls of interest, and then frankly put their names in a hat and pull out one resident. And those would be the first 8 members from each of those groups. But then following that, what we'd like to do is have those members of the resident advocate group when their term expires, reach out to, a friend, a neighbor, someone that they know in the community within that designated area, and have them join. And the thought process behind that is to reach out and get somebody who might not be in kind of the interior ring or involved with a lot of city groups. You tend to see a lot of the same folks volunteer and participate in focus groups, task force, commissions, etc., hoping that this maybe gets at some folks that we don't have a consistent communication relationship with. We're also trying to make this a little less informal. As you can see, we don't have a big audience here tonight, and so looking at how people's schedules are with kids, athletics, other activities, work, the dynamic of this would be kind of bringing the conversation to them. And so we're looking at possibly having a gathering at maybe the water treatment plant or the fire station, but also inviting a gathering to be held in someone's garage or at the coffee shop or Harvey's or Lisa's place, etc., and keep it a short kind of conversational type of meeting. We've designated into 3 areas. One on education, so maybe we talk about how a piece of fire equipment is used, or how a lift station works is a perfect example. Second piece, topic driven, so Dan had given the update on the 2017 reconstruction project. That would be something that we might bring to this group's attention. And then third piece is kind of questions and answers. What are you hearing on the street? There tends to be rumors or things that people have heard third or fourth hand. And really, it's a good point, Mayor. What this really strives to get after is it's kind of an homage to how things kind of used to be, the face-to-face conversation, and it's a little less informal, but it's really putting staff and council members in a position where you're having a kind of a kitchen table discussion, something that was a term that was used during the focus groups, and something that we tried to embed here. The one thing that I want to relay is that the conversations that we have, what we try to do is kind of summarize the conversation so that everybody feels like they're in the know about what's happening, so that if some certain points are brought up that we think are relevant, we'll try to do kind of whether it's in the newsletter or the utility billing insert, some type of summary of what's been discussed, not only to keep information consistent, but to kind of tell about the program and get people excited about joining. But this will supplement everything else that we do, so we wouldn't eliminate any type of outreach or engagement strategies that we have because we have this. This is just in addition to. So I know that's a lot to take in, so I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, I don't have a question. I just have a statement. I think we had talked for the last probably 5 or 6 years about a kind of a town hall program, and I think this sums that up in terms of, we do have a lot of people with a lot of opinions, and we have a lot of people that are running on the gamut of improving communications with the city. I think it's going to do one of two things. I think it's going to provide that opportunity for relaxed face-to-face meeting as well as information. And I think it's going to kind of run the gamut on commitment. I mean, we have people that are on focus groups that don't make every focus group. We have a lot of these things that I think this also allows us the opportunity to find out who is involved moving forward. So I think it's a great program to start with. I think as long as we go at this with the idea that we may need to poke and prod and move things around if need be. But I love the outline of it. I think it's fantastic.
I had many questions. Brent and I spoke for quite a while this afternoon about this program. One of my criticisms is, I think it's great. I want everybody to be as involved as they can. Is that I kind of wanted it to be recorded somehow so that whatever topic is being talked about can be put on our website. If we're talking about lift stations or whatever, then anybody can then see that conversation. Maybe we wouldn't have to do every single meeting like that, but I think some things are important enough that people might people who won't be there might want to hear the conversation, because these residents are going to be asking the questions probably that other people are thinking, but they won't be there.
But won't that be the job of the resident, the neighborhood, whoever the representative is, to go back to their residents and say, this is what we discussed? It encourages, that way, Brent gets all these phone calls anyway. And this way, maybe it takes it off of Facebook, and everybody has their opinions on Facebook, and then the neighborhood rep can go back to the people within their neighborhood.
Except that these neighborhoods are huge. Whatever one representative is coming from each of these areas is not going to know everybody in those
Understood.
neighborhoods. So
Understood.
I'm just saying what you said. We may need to poke and prod. Maybe some things will need to be held here, where it can still be a roundtable discussion, but have it recorded so that information gets to other residents as well.
So it can be archived?
Yeah, and then then when people call you with the same question, you can always explain it to them and then say, hey, you know what, we have this little 20-minute clip on the website about that. Just an idea.
I'm not arguing, I'm just adding to it. It's, I think a lot of people want, I keep hammering on Facebook. Facebook's so anonymous. Everybody can do and say what they want. Mm-hmm. If we have this videotaped, I think it might have people back out of their involvement, because there is an archive and a record. Just a thought. I think I'm all for it.
I'm just for, as far as the communication piece of it, I think you hit more people if you do record it and are able to offer it up to people who want to see it.
I would, how about this? I'll agree with that. Once the meeting is done, you do have the ability to get to more people. I think, and again, I'm not arguing, I'm just throwing it out there, is I think you also hamper the fact that I don't know that everybody's going to want to get involved if their face is on TV or their voice is on recording. Just a thought.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that, but I'm all for it. Does anybody have anything else?
Well, potentially, if you have meetings that seem to have a particular interest from the group, you can go back later and set up a open meeting for the whole community. If there's certain topics that seem to attract more attention than others, it might pay to go back later and have a meeting for the whole community. We could get 4,000.
I think it's just another form of communication that we can get with the residents, and I'm all for it. Whether it's recorded or not, that can be decided later.
Communication is never a bad thing.
Well, I do.
Come on up.
Yeah, I do too.
Just please, and then maybe tell us where you live.
Okay, Lori Cox.
You related to him?
I am.
How was Duluth?
I'm his ma.
How was the breakfast type dinner?
So you could have anything on the kids' menu at any time.
That's
what he was trying to impart. So that was.
He did well.
Oh yeah. So thank you, Mayor and Council. I have a question for this, just because I think outreach is awesome, and I think any effort to do it is great. What I didn't see in this when I read through it was, what would like a measure of success be? Of saying, okay, we've done this, we've put it out into the neighborhoods, we've gotten folks involved, and within that first 2 years, we had additional feedback, we had more people involved. Would there be a measure, or has a measure been thought of to say, this part was successful, but by the way, this parts weren't?
I understand the question. To borrow the phrase from the title of the program, I would say that this is a relationship thing, and it's a, how do you measure a great conversation that you have with your family around a Sunday dinner? Do you say, is this a success, because, or do you just have a feeling? And I do think, because of some of the more controversial issues that we've had in the community, I think there's an opportunity to give people a good feeling about the city that they live in. I think we tend to get a lot of feedback, and people talk about the city or the government, but when it really gets down to it, the city or the government is all of us, and the 5 people that we see up here are all residents. They're not people that we ship in from Chaska or Chanhassen to make decisions for us. And, I'm a resident, and so I think it's a conversation about talking about our community, and I would struggle with a form of measurement because it would make me feel like people's comments are assigned a certain value, and I think it'll be a feeling of how people talk and express their admiration for the community and the government or the people that serve them on a day-to-day basis. So, and 8 people at a time, you're probably not going to see measurable results, but I think a successful program for me looks like if we're 2 to 3 years in and we have people filling these spots and we have a waiting list for people to participate, and we have, instead of a conversation when the first people or the first thing that someone would say related to the city of Carver, they don't mention property taxes or their water bill, they mention a great conversation they had on an upcoming street project. For me, that would be success. And I think right now, most of the comments that I hear, the first words, are related to property taxes or their water bill. And so,
or them, or they, or not us.
and I think we have some positive things to talk about related to the dental clinic and the school. And, just like with anything, you talk about with, your son is a perfect example. Having that conversation face-to-face with the council, or having them, put that into 140 characters, well, there's a different type of relationship thing there. And so we're trying to kind of, I think, this program is trying to seize on really the roots of Carver as this small town community. And for being as small as we are, this small city, to have those, develop those and nurture those relationships face-to-face in settings that you wouldn't think to have. I mean, we all talk about city government and politics around the kitchen table, but we're all, because of process, used to having those discussions in a place like this and at 7 o'clock at night when everybody's exhausted at the end of the day. And so that's a long-winded response to your question.
But it makes complete sense, and it's a relationship, and we've talked about this a number of times, and it really boils down to putting a name with a face and a face with a name. All too often, we've had this conversation at my coffee shop. We sit down and chat, and we have a true understanding of who and what we are. I don't think there is. I think for me, when my Uncle Bill comes over to measure success is if he can drive home. I mean, it's those little things, and I think that's what we're trying to accomplish with this. At least that's where I'm going with it.
Perfect, thank you.
Does anybody have? Well, I would like to make a motion to approve the resident advocate program. I'm a believer.
I'll second that.
It's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I would just like to add that I think that as long as we all go at this with an open mind and, Cindy's approach as well as Jim's approach, and I think we just keep an eye on it. Everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I would, excuse me, Mayor Collins, I would just add that I expect us to be able to find warts with this program as we go on, and just like anything, we'll try to adjust and navigate that. But a little, like I mentioned to Council Member Monroe, we're a little bit on the edge on this one, in that we didn't go to Google and search, resident engagement programs and then just copy and change the logo and say, well, here's our program. We're really developing something from scratch, and when you're kind of on the edge like that, there could be things that we're not noticing. But I think the intent from where the council was at, this was part of your strategic planning process, so this has really been an initiative of the city council, and now you're seeing kind of the end result. And so I think the intent is there. And as we go through, if we find bumps in the road, we'll navigate that and report back to you on how we're doing. So,
Of all the faith. Ms. Monroe, do you have anything you'd like to add? Communications?
Planning Commission, public hearing on fees ordinance? No. What did we do?
That's what we did.
That's what we did. See, I remembered. It was sparsely attended and was a very quick meeting. So that's all I got. Oh, wait.
Monroe?
Sorry.
Just getting ready.
Sorry, Jim. Sorry, Jim.
I just, for all those people who are watching out there, please vote. If you haven't voted already, please vote tomorrow. Oh, and happy birthday, Eleanor.
Okay. Now, Mr. Wygant.
First, I'd like to say thank you to Kathy Van Walter. I think for a number of years she's been doing sort of a
Thankless job.
thankless job is a good description. And as people come to town and look at our cute little town, I think she deserves a lot of the credit, and we'll miss her on the HPC.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Second item is I just want to mention that Metro Cities is having a policy adoption meeting on Wednesday, November 30th. I think right now Brent and I are going. I don't know if anybody else is planning to go. And also this Sunday, the Lions are having their Sunday brunch at the Chaska VFW. So be there, be square.
What, Chaska, this Sunday, Chaska VFW, what time?
I think it
Starts at 9?
yeah.
9 a.m. till 1?
1, I think.
Yeah.
What it usually
Or
is.
is it
Okay.
9 to noon?
Outstanding. Anything else?
Nope. I'll just reiterate
Get out.
Cindy's request that you go and vote.
Okay, now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hank?
We have a Parks Commission meeting next Monday. Other than that, it is November, and I just want to remind everybody that if you're out walking in the Fish and Wildlife, please wear something bright. It is open deer hunting season, and we don't want to have any accidents. So,
Try
thank
not
you.
to look like a deer.
Yeah, then I'll
Don't be
put,
brown. Don't
I'll
be
put
white.
that back on, and if you're hunting anywhere near a city, please don't shoot unless you know exactly what it is. All right. Is that it, Hank?
That's all I got.
All right. Red?
There was a Carver County elected leaders meeting, and Matt Podorowski gave an update on the Ryder Cup and how Chaska dealt with all of the challenges with that. It was very interesting. And then I would like to echo Jim's sentiments about Kathy. She really did a great job for the HBC, and she will be missed.
Mr. Merrick?
Just wanted to update the council that earlier this evening, staff and Mayor Webb and Councilmember Henry met with some local youth associations regarding the Ironwood Park and the field lighting issue. We also had a representative from Minnesota Valley Electrical Co-op attend, and so we're in the midst of gathering that information, and we'll have a report back to the City Council at your next meeting on the 21st.
That's really what I was going to say. Oh, we're good. I have nothing else. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.